Due to explicit content and language, listeners' discretion is advised. Black in Thought.
All right, let's get started. You may learn something.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Black in Thought, where we take a look at current and cultural issues, applying that Afrocentric drip to them. Your hosts tonight are... We got the Professor, JBD, and of course me, Ill Will. Welcome to episode 9 of Black in Thought, where tonight's topic is going to be the Black Lives Matter movement versus the Black Lives Matter organization. As we've been seeing lately, there's a clear difference in between the movement and the organization. Yeah, you may disagree with what I'm saying, but give us a listen and let us point it out to you as far as to show you that there's somewhat of a difference between the two. The way we look at it, there's kind of a lot of confusion going on right now, because when people have been donating, there's been a lot of places donating to the Black Lives Matter. They think they're donating to Black Lives Matter, but in actuality, they don't know what they're donating to. I mean, there's several organizations, there's several foundations that are claiming to be a part of Black Lives Matter, but are they the root or the foundation cause when I say that? And I'm going to start with a little piece that I found that showed a huge confusion that happened between the foundation and the organization per se. So let's take a listen.
But our whole goal is to find a way to bring the community and the police together so that we can live in harmony with the police.
Robert Ray Barnes is the founder of the Black Lives Matter Foundation in Santa Clarita, not associated with the Black Lives Matter movement. And therein lies the confusion. Tonight, a BuzzFeed article claims in the wake of racial protests, donors mistakenly raised more than $4 million for the local nonprofit, thinking it was going back to the Black Lives Matter Global Network, the worldwide movement that aims to end police brutality.
I've seen articles that says that I've raised $4.3 million where, I have never had anything close to that.
The BuzzFeed article does say the bulk of that money raised was frozen before it could be dispersed. Nevertheless, Barnes says he has never associated with Black Lives Matter Global Network.
I've never heard one word from anybody from Black Lives Matter.
But he says he has received donations for his foundation, although he would not disclose the amount.
I don't know whether they're doing it to support what I was doing or not. How do I know? I've been around since 2015.
Barnes says he started the Black Lives Matter Foundation in 2015 after he says his wife's ex-husband was allegedly shot and killed by an LAPD officer. Although the foundation is registered, he says he has yet to launch any programs. Instead, he says he puts money into other charities.
I'm actually proud of what we do. I'm not ashamed of it.
BuzzFeed claims many of the recent donations came from Benevity, a site that connects large corporations like Google and Apple to charities. Tonight, a disclaimer was placed on the Black Lives Matter Foundation donation page saying it had no association with BLM. And GoFundMe sent us this statement saying in part, 180 campaigns have recently raised money for the Black Lives Matter Foundation, raising $350,000. GoFundMe placed all funds on hold, and we are working with PayPal and the campaign organizers to ensure all of the money raised is transferred to the Black Lives Matter movement via their fiscal sponsor.
So if someone did not want to donate something to me, then I would gladly return. As an example, people have asked me, people have sent me checks that says Black Lives Matter, doesn't say the foundation, and I send it back.
We did reach out to the Black Lives Matter movement here in Los Angeles, but have yet to hear back. As for the Black Lives Matter Foundation, when it comes to taxes, the latest return we could find was in 2017. The foundation brought in just under $300,000. Barnes was the only employee to get paid just over $20,000. Reporting in Santa Clarita, Leslie Marin, CBS 2 News.
And that's what I mean. People are unsure of where they're donating money, unsure of where they're putting their resources in, because I mean, just him as a simple person created a foundation back in 2015, calling himself the Black Lives Matter Foundation. And, you know, you're thinking you're donating to the global movement, but you're really donating to a single person saying he's part of the foundation. Now, and then with that, you know, you don't know what his views are because he's just a single person within this. So that's why we think it's important to get it out, you know, the movement versus the organization and, you know, what's going on around it. Because, I mean, that's a clear example of, you know, someone who just popped up with a foundation and going to accept funds and then not have a real place to put it back into the community. Yeah, I mean, he said he was doing a couple of things, but I mean, what truly was he doing? From that, you know, he said he was sending money back if they didn't specifically say they were donating to the foundation. But I mean, how many other people are out here with foundations or, you know, claiming to be part of the organization or as we've seen, you know, people go along, the media, how they characterize just to say if you're a black person and you do something and it winds up being newsworthy where, you know, you have an individual just to say, and it is what it is when I say this, just say they catch an individual tearing up a business and just say it happens to be a black person. The first thing the media is going to say is, here is a Black Lives Matter person destroying this business. So, you know, for us as black people, we know that this is not a person part of the movement or a person who believes in necessarily the mission statement of the organization. This is a person for whatever gain that they're trying to do, having their own thoughts and feelings of whatever they're trying to gain. This is a person who is not of the movement. This is a person who is not of the organization. Because if there was a person of the organization or the movement, they would be doing it peacefully and exercising every right they have to protest and not necessarily tear up stuff. Now, we've talked about beforehand, you know, protest versus riot with this situation. But in this context, if we're talking the movement versus the organization, the rioting side of it is not a part of necessarily, I feel, and I'm just going to say I feel, not part of the movement or the organization. So that's why I feel there's a huge misconception when it comes to the media and other parties that play a part in putting out a false narrative when it comes to the movement versus the organization, because so many people have their own agenda that they want to put forth just to have when we're talking about the media outlets, just to have a news story. They don't care what it is. They just want a news story. I mean, they don't care if it makes sense. They don't care if it's hurting the black community by putting this information out here that, you know, we're all showing that, you know, how black people are supposedly violent and, you know, we do this and we do that, in which they don't understand by putting out that message. I mean, you set us back because a lot of us are everyday working people that just want to enjoy the American dream like the United States puts out that we want a part of. And so with that, you know, we have to go back to why was Black Lives Matter started. And, you know, with this original mission statement, you know, for against police brutality against black folks and finding justice in, you know, systematic racism when it comes to incarceration and things of that nature, when it comes to, you know, the equal treatment, when it comes to, you know, sentencing and justice, law enforcement treatment and things like that. So the movement, and, you know, and this is just my opinion, the movement versus the organization. The organization is going to be a foundation, and the movement is going to be an ever evolving product of the organization. So with that, what I mean is the movement's going to be fluid in its actions, in whatever it does. So I think the movement more so participates in the protests and the riots more, say, when they do happen, to where the organization, they put out all the information that lets you know that, hey, this is what we stand for. This is why we stand for this, and this is what we want and why we want it.
So I'll give my 2 cents about it. I think that most black people in this country are behind ending police brutality against black people, changing the criminal justice system and how it affects black people. But I don't think that most black people really are for a lot of the things that are in the mission statement for
Or aware.
the Black Lives Matter, or aware too. But I think if they were aware with some of the things that they say, I think the biggest thing for me when I read their mission statement that I don't agree with is it mentions about the nuclear family and how it's not in support of a nuclear family, and that it's a, we all heard it, it takes a village to raise a child. Yes, it does. It takes, but within that village is a nuclear family. You know what I mean? So, when they ascribe to that, when they put a a separation as if a mother and a father and children are not an ideal situation for somebody to grow up in, that really doesn't speak to me, So, and that's where I have a struggle with that piece. So, because I know from my experience, from many of my family's experience, when you don't have a father figure in your life, or your mother's not there, it causes scars. It causes issues and challenges that individuals got to work through that they shouldn't have to if those things were in place. Now, granted, you have to live life and you have to move forward. So, yes, when your aunt or your grandmother or someone else in your family has to pick up the slack for things that happen, obviously, that's what's required and that's what's needed. But, statistically, the people who are most successful, and when I say success, they're able to, from a wealth standpoint, just to put it simply, and being able to provide, people that come out of those nuclear situations they're ahead of the game. So I think that when you basically say, when you tout and say that we're not about that, I struggle with that big time. So,
which, I agree. Cause let me get a little bit off topic here for a second, and then I'll bring it back. But like you say, a woman can't fully teach a young boy how to be a man.
No.
It takes a man how to teach his son or a young man how to be a man, and vice versa. A man raising a single daughter, he can't teach his daughter how to be a woman fully. And with that is the misconception, through the nuclear thing it's just like.
That's so foundational, and they'll say it's I'll read. It says we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and quote villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. It doesn't even mention fathers.
It doesn't. It leaves the father out.
So to me, it's like, it is kind of, to me, it is in the same line when you guys talk about Willie Lynch and how you separate, disassociate, and break the family structure apart, that's when you can really have control. So to me, in my opinion, this is just it's like a political aim to eliminate the male's role in this equation from the family unit.
Yeah.
And what comes up underneath that is some other thing. It could be the state. It could be some organization, and and honestly, this is a lot of reasons why gangs exist. You know, because they're looking for that
A family to be
a family to be a hold of, and they're missing that. So that's why gangs are so attractive to some of our young black males,
because they feel someone cares about
because
it.
they feel somebody cares. So you know, I just really can't. You know, I'm wholeheartedly 100% with ending police brutality. You know, criminal justice reform, police reform, and all of what we've been talking about. But I can't get down with that. So that's the struggle, I think, is when people who are aware of this, they're like, hold on, wait a minute. Especially Christian organizations, churches, when they see a lot of the things that are mentioned in this mission statement, it goes against the Bible. And what Christianity is based on. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we talk about Black Lives Matter movement versus the organization, what's happening here is they've turned the Black Lives Matter movement into a franchise because they're capitalizing on our struggle.
right.
They're
Yeah,
capitalizing on our agony and our pain, right?
Exactly.
So what must happen here is we must, you know, when we get passionate, man, we're all over the place. You know, it catches on fire, we're everywhere. But we have to be mindful of those organizations
That want to co-op.
Exactly, that want to co-op, right? We have to have our own label, our own stamp, our own trademark, so we know that when we're contributing and we're building our brand, that we know there's no imposters, right? Because the last thing we want to do is we want people to come in and capitalize, again, like it's a franchise. And it's not. This is not a franchise.
It's our lives.
We got fucking skin in this game.
Yeah.
We got people who look like us who have died, right, for no reason at all, other than
Being black.
being black.
And, you know, just a quick thing, you know, this is something that stuck with me. I mean, I heard this, and I mean, this is just set with me. I mean, I love this, what I'm about to say. Catch on fire with enthusiasm, people will come from miles to watch you burn. I mean, they really will watch you burn with that. And like you said, how people are trying to change this into a franchise. It's the enthusiasm of the franchise. And, you know, if we, you know, as a people, we overdo it, I mean, people are going to come from miles to watch us burn and then watch the franchise burn down. We need to have an aim, a goal, and realistic aims and goals, not just, you know, broad measures and things like that.
It will. Let me jump in one piece here. So what comes to mind? One thing that before I forget, I was watching some videotape of the protests, and people were in the street, and they said, "Okay, there's a pallet of bricks that just got dropped off." Now, people who are for ending police brutality and want criminal justice reform, and they're protesting the street for George Floyd, they're not dropping off pallets of bricks. There are elements within this organization, movement, whatever, that are co-opting this for their mission and what they want. You know, some people say it's the people who were doing that shit on Wall Street a few years back with that wanted to tear the economy down. Yeah. You know, they're who was protesting on Wall Street and all that shit. And they, you know, some people think it's them, some people think it's other organizations, but I don't believe that our people are doing things like that. You know, having the resources, the organization, and the wherewithal to put pallets of bricks to say,
Right.
hey, here protesters, here riders,
Here's some bricks.
Here's some bricks that y'all can use. You know,
Just throw 'em at
that's
businesses
damn
and
near
at the
the
cops.
same shit that, you know, like dropping crack in the neighborhood. You know, so it's the same mindset. So we got to really be careful about, you know, when we say Black Lives Matter. We have to be very keen in understanding, you know, how other groups and other in organizations are trying to co-opt this message
And that's
in this
why
movement.
I feel the media has a huge responsibility in this. I mean, now whether that's social media, news media, or whatever, you know, in which you can't really control social media because that's individuals. But every time something happens and they see a black person, the first thing out their mouth is Black Lives Matter person assaults these white people. Black Lives Matter tears up this building. When those individuals may not even have anything to do with the movement or the organization. So the media, whether it be social media or news media, is very irresponsible when it comes to putting out that message, and they don't mind putting it out, which, I mean, it draws me to a question in which, you know, I was talking to someone and they brought this about. Do you think the Black Lives Matter organization or movement can replace the NAACP in the future?
What kind of question is that?
I'm telling you,
Thanks, JB. You just took the wind out of my breath.
This is a question that I was asked.
So
This is a question I was asked.
So let me ask another question. Where has the NCAA
NCAA? I know. I'm worried about college football too.
Yeah, me too. Where has that organization been doing all this?
The NAACP, to tell you the truth, I haven't seen a lot of them doing this. I truly haven't.
Okay.
But I will say, I mean, there's two different foundations for them. Where, of course, you know, Black Lives Matter is for the ending of police brutality against black people. The NAACP is over a broad range of inequalities for black people.
I have
And it's the same. One thing, Professor. So, like, I don't know the specific name of the organization because we were talking about the black on black crime. There are organizations that exist that focus specifically on ending violence in black communities.
I agree.
But that's not what the Black Lives Matter is about. It's about police brutality.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about our episode, rioting versus protests. Again, you guys know where I stand on the subject. However, do you recall back in the day when Martin Luther King was organizing these protests?
I don't, because I wasn't around.
Well, I don't either. But I mean, yeah, I wasn't. I was swimming.
We read about it.
I read about it. But based off what you read when they were protesting and marching peacefully for things such as police brutality and senseless deaths, anywhere where they had the ability, the media had the ability to franchise our intentions? And the answer is no. And my question is, what changed from then to now? What changed?
I mean, I don't think a lot has changed because we're still going through a lot of the struggles. But to differentiate between the two, at the end of the day, Black Lives Matter is for, you know, the end of police brutality, the end of racial injustice and things like that. That's geared specifically towards I'm going to say laws and law enforcement to black folks, to where the NAACP is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economical equality of rights of all persons, to eliminate race-based discrimination. So it's two different.
Yeah, it's different.
So okay, so you guys say it's different, but again, I'm going to go back again. What was Martin Luther King marching for?
He was NAACP rights. I don't think he was necessarily for
No.
Black Lives Matter
We're
rights.
talking about black people who are getting hit with water hoses black people who were lynched. Black people
Yeah,
who
I think that when the march was for all of it. I think it was for
More NAACP than BLM.
I think at that time it was for all the above.
And because like whether it was, it wasn't recognized as an issue of Black Lives Matter issue back then. Yes, there was inequalities when it come to police brutality and things like that. But I feel Martin Luther King was more so of equality across the whole board than just.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was part of it. So, I mean, they couldn't even vote without,
Yeah.
So I mean, it was for a more broader, like you said, comprehensive change, where this is more specific. And honestly, it's more specific because there have been more advancements. You know what I mean? So it's really pigeonholed. It's more surgical in this regard.
Yeah, but where I'm going with this is, unfortunately, our African American community is a flashcard society, because you have the Black Lives Matter organization who does not represent us, but yet they've taken $4 million from us. So what I mean by a flashcard society is
I hear you, brother.
Is that, hey, we're Black Lives Matter organization, but we don't do our due diligence in A, investigating these organizations, and B, having that solidarity in our own organization. And the reason why I brought up Martin Luther King and his protests and his marches is because they couldn't franchise that. When he went and he marched and protested, and again, I'm for rioting. However, when he protests, he organized, the whole group came out. You couldn't, if it wasn't
it couldn't get co-opted.
Thank you, JB. It couldn't be co-opted, right?
It couldn't get.
So now we're a flashcard society. Hey, I'm Black Lives Matter. We got all these signs.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, man.
But see, I mean, okay. So with that, let's take a round table, I guess, a vote. So, I mean, going back to my original question, do you think the Black Lives Matter organization can replace the NAACP? Because we haven't heard a lot from the NAACP.
No, I'll step
right
up.
now.
I'll say no.
So JB says no.
I say no.
I'll
Can
tell
I
you
give?
why.
Can I give?
So D says no.
Professor.
So what's your vote, Professor?
So what's the question again?
The question is, do you think the Black Lives Matter organization can replace the NAACP?
I think we need to get rid of all of them.
Yes or no? Pick one.
Can it replace it? Yeah, because it's the same shit.
So what about, okay, you say yes. So
Here,
hold on. D and JB, what if they can employ some young black lawyers to be able to add a different element to the organization?
Here's what I'll say, and I'll just qualify this. The NAACP has lost its luster and its fire. Okay, as Professor was saying, this is what you flashcard. This is what's hot right now. This Black Lives Matter. Okay, so what really needs to happen is we all need to get engaged. We all need to be more involved and not rely or this organization out here, they need to be doing something for me or whatever. No, we need to be doing something for ourselves. So within our community. So to say that we got to wait for this organization, that's the same thing as saying who's going to be the next Martin Luther King.
Correct.
Right. So I mean, it's not we ourselves, like we mentioned on the last episode. Barack Obama was elected president. Right. Big feat. So it's not. So I wouldn't look at it as that we have to have some specific leader. We need to be. We all need to be leaders, and when that happens, not that you want to say that these organizations are irrelevant, but to some degree, they, the way society is and how it moves, and and how dynamic it is, you got to have a different game plan. You know what I mean? It's different times. I'll make an example how you know, we talk about different game plans and different, you know, when you look at unions, you know, we talked about that a little bit ago. Unions had a purpose, you know, for workers' rights, different things that were going on in the workplace. They had a purpose. Now those are in law. You know, all that stuff's been legislated. That's on the books. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff's just the law. That's just the law of the land now. So it's kind of become somewhat irrelevant at this point in some cases. So the workers' rights and so on, you know, those types of things. So employers can't do the same things that they used to be able to do.
No.
So I feel like you have to. It has to evolve, it has to move, it has to change, you know, change with the times and still meet the demands that we need to meet. And I think now is a little bit more at the local level in your communities. That's where it needs to happen. You know, you still need to have some type of country and federal, you know, as a nation, have some type of apparatus, but it really is just us doing what we need to do as individuals and leading our communities, man.
So, as you say that, let me ask this, because you know, with this, you hear the term millennial a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that term millennial, do you think to the millennials, Black Lives Matter is the new generation in NAACP?
I do. Them millennials got a lot of fire.
Whew.
They're smart, they're eager, they have a lot of energy, and they just don't back down. I do, man. I think that could be the future of the NAACP.
But with that,
I like millennials.
there's a good and bad to the millennial, and this is for me, being supervisor over millennials at times and things like that. A lot of times, millennials are for themselves. If there's no benefit for them, they have no skin in the game. So if, like during the movement, if there's nothing for them per se, can they keep the movement itself or the organization itself going forward?
So I guess to say they will not stay millennials. We all get old.
Yeah. One dynamic I think to touch on with that, I think when you say that they are out for themselves, I think it may be a little twist on they want instant gratification. Yes. So I think that that's a little difference. In their mind, they've come up in a world where things are so instant and things happen right now, whereas 2 generations before, you had to put more time in to get change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I know people are fed up and they want change now. However, how you go about it and how you produce that change, that still does take time. It's not protest. It's
long
not,
game versus
right,
short game.
The long game versus short game. So that's a flat like we talked about the riot, that's a flash in the pan. But I think the millennials' attitude is they want it now. They want it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they got to have some wisdom and some maturity to understand not only to get it, but how to maintain it. How does it make it long lasting?
So I think the millennials working with some more veteran people can be a good combination. The millennials can create that fire and that that smoke everybody looking for versus in addition to some veterans, maybe working hand in hand with them.
And I think, like you're saying, Ill Will, it would be nice in this instance if, and I'm not saying this isn't happening because I'm sure it is happening to some degree, but it's not, again, in the media and publicized, that NAACP organizations, the Urban League organizations, different organizations that have more of an historical footprint in this country, bringing some of the BLM folks along and helping them out in some respects. So,
and I agree with JB. When we talk movement in terms of Black Lives Matter, we can't place a monetary value on that. And he's like, what do you mean? Currently, it's being franchised. through the organization. When I think back to the times where Martin Luther King and them were marching, it wasn't a monetary value, it was a transformational value. And what I mean by that is you had to be willing to do this with nothing other than the intent to transform. We all know that money is influential, right? But I think that we've gotten away from our intentions, meaning that transforming this thing and changing rather than, hey, listen, we can market this, right? We've turned it into a marketing scheme, marketing ploy. So when we talk about our millennials haven't had the opportunity as our Generation X, which we are Generation X.
But let me ask you this question. When you say that they have not had the opportunity, to me, this is the golden age to be able to speak out. As far as a Generation X, I mean, I can remember times when I was a kid that I got chased by a truck full of white boys calling me, nigger this and nigger that, to where, these millennials, they're not facing that same, they're facing it a different type of way. They're not facing it that type of way. So them being able to speak out on social media, being able to get their message out a lot easier with the times, I think they have more of an advantage to be able to do that.
Well, they don't have an advantage because as much access to media and information that they have, they lack the ability to manage that, right? So what I'm saying is
the maintenance piece, the long-term piece.
Listen, they don't have the common sense value to say, okay, I have all this information, I have all this data, but when you look at it, you look and see what they do on social media, right?
TikTok,
they're dancing, they're flashing $180 in ones with two tens or $100 bills on top. They don't know how to manage that, right? So what I'm saying is you have to remove the monetary value of it and install the transformational value of it. And unfortunately, our millennials are not prepared for that. We haven't taught them that.
Which, I mean, we talked about this in the last episode, but it leads me back to this again, when you're looking at the protests, when you're looking at who's donating to the organization, when you're looking at people that are injecting themselves into social media, as far as YouTube and stuff like that, the white people that are speaking out about this.
But the best way to show that Black Lives Matter is hit these white folks in their fucking pockets. We already talked about how the African American community is 13% of the economy. When we stop investing in their white America, what happens to the Dow Jones? It plummets,
goes down.
right? So the true Black Lives Matter movement is to take back our resources and our buying power and to create another Black Wall Street. That's the true Black Lives Matter movement. Now I know I said that we have to remove the monetary value and install the transformational value, but the point is, until we take back ownership and until we continue to invest in our own communities, then this Black Lives Matter organization that we have right now and this Black Lives Matter,
it's a flash in the pan.
It's a flash in the pan, like JB said. It means shit.
Right. So to me, you brought up some good points, Professor, about ownership. Owning your future, owning your business, being owners, being investors, because money talks.
It does.
It does. So if you want to affect things and change things, money is what makes things move. Shit, that's the whole reason why people going back to work right now in the pandemic.
So I'm gonna tell you the most nonviolent and passive. Again, I'm all for rioting. However, for example, the Rosa Parks incident when they made her change her seat. You know what they did to fuck them up? They boycotted. The bus companies lost so much money. What did they do? Fuck it. You can say whatever you want, right? So again, you remove the monetary value for the transformational value, right? Which ultimately affects the monetary value, which changes everything, right? So again, ownership, taking it back, we fuel the economy, let's do our own shit. And that's the Black Lives Matter movement, because we do matter. We matter so much that if we stop buying your fucking phony ass products, your country goes into a third world country, your stock market crashes, right? So Black Lives Matter movement consists of the impact we have when we don't participate in your fucked up ass government.
You know what? I'm gonna go back.
Hold on.
No.
You done fucked up.
No,
I'm back. Hold on.
I got you. But listen, no.
I'm about to say it.
No,
I'm
hold
about
on.
to say it.
No. Hold on. With this, I'm going to say I appreciate the fact that you said, because I mean, from our previous episode with protest versus riot, I brought up how Rosa Parks was able to protest a situation and shut some shit down. But that was the long game. It wasn't necessarily a riot that shut that shit down with that.
Hey, Professor, she didn't burn the bus down.
She didn't burn the bus down, but she was able to protest and be able to disrupt that whole fucking bus system.
How?
It wasn't a riot though.
It was through boycotting.
It was. You're right. And
that's a peaceful protest.
But you didn't bring that up.
I give you that.
You gotta be in your game, bro. What you talking about? You ain't bring that up. What is
That motherfucker be saying some shit.
But the point is, Black Lives Matter. Of course, we matter. Our lives matter. But our lives matter because of the value that we add to the American economy.
Absolutely.
The value that we add to the American trends and styles. We add so much flavor to America. We add so much money and currency to America that they couldn't do this shit without us, right? They couldn't.
Evidence is the doubt.
So when we talk about Black Lives Matter, we have to remove the value that we add from their society and from their world for them to realize. Again, I know I said that we have to, it's not about the monetary value, it's about the transformational value, but the transformational value ultimately affects the monetary value that ultimately affects the transition and the transformation, right? So again, I think that once we take back our value and begin to add it to our own community, build our own banks like the Black Wall Street, man, listen, they're going to continue to do what they're going to do.
Get them in the pocket.
Right.
So, you were talking about the NCAA when you was trying to get to the NAACP.
NAACP.
Which triggered something. I love you, brother.
Yeah, I love you too, brother. Yeah,
but
let's get it.
I don't know the gentleman's name. He's a basketball recruit that ended up going to Howard.
Yes, I saw that in the news. Yes.
Yeah. So and I know that Stephen A. Smith on ESPN has been screaming off the rooftops for this for the last couple of years about how these players need to go to HBCUs because NCAA is out of control. But it's also the universities, because they're getting all of this money, and funneling all this money from these players and these sports and lining their pockets. That why not line the pockets of these HBCUs? You're only gonna be there for 1 year anyway, bruh. Go to
why
these.
Not let them make the money.
Let them make these. I hate to say it, but let them make the money off of you. Because right now, I guess you can't get paid anyway for playing.
If you want to
basketball
allow somebody to make
for
the
first
money,
year anyway,
let an HBCU profit.
Let them profit and put it back in their pocket.
But it's much greater. It's much greater than that. When you talk about HBCU, you're talking about again a historical value.
History.
Right?
Yeah.
That they're teaching us. I'm going to read you this quote, and this is by President Obama. It says, "If you think education is expensive, wait until you see how much ignorance costs." Right? So when you go to the HBCU, you get an understanding of A, who you are, even if you don't have a father, even if you came from a broken home, and B, how great you are. Right? So you can stick a $150,000 scholarship in front of me from a Big 10 or a Pac-12 or a Big 12 or SEC school, and you can give me an opportunity to be a millionaire. But if you don't give me the opportunity to know who I am and know my identity, I'm fucked, right? So when we talk about Black Lives Matter versus the Black Lives Matter organization, right? Now I'm lost because the movement versus these
co-op organizations.
The co-op, I'm learning to be invested in anything. But when you give me the opportunity to realize who I am and where I come from, then I understand that the true value and the movement consists of the value that we add to the American society and how do we remove that, right, in order to transform.
So. Yeah, I think that parallels great, Professor, to what you was talking about ownership and, keeping things in house, so to speak, to drive change.
That's right.
If more college athletes went to HBCUs, that would definitely change some things with these
would change
universities.
a lot.
Man, listen.
Because these universities, they can't they're on a house of cards when it comes to their funding and their finances.
if you look
they
at-
didn't have sports that would fund what they are,
Your Michigans,
yeah,
your SoCal,
they rely
would
so
not be what they were.
heavily on TV contracts and all this money that's coming in from these football and basketball programs. They would really be struggling.
Listen, when we talk segregation, we're looking at a freaking boycott off of a bus. A bus. They told Rosa she couldn't sit where she wanted to sit. Martin and the other team members said, listen, we ain't riding, we walking. They lost so much revenue to where they were ready to say, you know what, maybe the segregation thing is not good at all.
Montgomery says, take the bus, but leave the driving to us. I'd rather
Listen,
walk.
man, I'd rather walk, right? So it's the value that we add to the community, the white community, the white government. When we remove that and we invest that in our own, man, listen.
Well, that's where
you can get some shit done.
Yeah, that's where the change
So
comes from.
so hold on. So we're gonna agree to disagree, but then I'm gonna agree.
Only you would say some shit like that.
Based on our current condition of our government,
I'm just glad we're not slaves these days.
Tell me
The episode ain't over yet.
I've evolved. I've evolved. Based on the current condition of our government, rioting is effective. However, the fact that we don't understand who we are and how great we are, we don't realize the significance of protest. Protest is okay, right? But there has to come an action. And what I mean by that is when Rosa Parks decided to protest, we decided to boycott. When we took our resources away from our white government, they panicked because they knew that the buying power and the strength of the African American community was way more stronger than their own, right? Just like when the Dow dropped, they start panicking. We stopped, what is it called, Black Tuesday?
Blackout week.
Blackout week. We start buying everything black. Black on black, black on black, black coffee, black donuts, black everything. The Dow dropped, and I watched the stock market. I got it on my phone.
Everything.
I did. I watched it. I mean, it was amazing to see the difference between that week and how they showed how the Dow just continued to drop compared to the following week. I mean, it was amazing just to see how influential the black dollar was.
So and I'm gonna drop the seed yet. So when we talk Black Lives Matter, look at the boycott from Rosa Parks. Look at Black Tuesday when the Dow dropped. That's how you know Black Lives Matter, because the impact that it has to our world and our economy.
I agree, most definitely. And I mean, it's just amazing to see how influential. I mean, I know I just said it, but it's just amazing to see how influential we as black folks can be on the economy, on the social issues, on worldly things of the world. Because I mean, they're all over the place. They're protesting and stuff like that in London. They're other countries. I can't think of. I can see them, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But countries all over the world, they're having protests for Black lives.
Yeah, but Ill Will, let's don't get blindsided by these other countries that are protesting. Again, because we fuel our American economy, the moment we get a hair up our ass and decide to stop buying, those countries are impacted as well. So they're wise enough to know, let us go ahead and jump on the bandwagon and let them know that we support them, because the moment they pull their dollars out, we're fucked. Because these white boys don't buy this shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's all about money. It's the exchanging the monetary value for the transformational value. That's what it is.
I mean, it's a great point. So, I mean, with that, I'll ask this then. So, with the movement in itself, what can derail or corrupt the movement to make the whole Black Lives Matter movement or organization just
I think
look
it's
like
going on
it
right
has?
now. I think it's going on right now. I think when, like I was saying about with the bricks, setting out bricks and stuff, I think that you had these organizations, and I think that they're opportunists because they're looking at this, okay, this is getting some traction. Let's try to push our political agenda on with this. Let's do this. Let's do that. Or it's organizations where I don't know, something that you played earlier before. I don't know if that dude was just a
The
shyster.
foundation,
I don't know if he
yeah.
was just a shyster or whatever.
Individual
but,
foundation.
Right. So you got people that's trying to make $1 off of it and say, okay, yeah, I'm
Trying to capitalize,
I'm
yep.
Black Lives Matter charity. Or
I'm Black Lives Matter dash 2.0.
Dash 2. Yeah. So all this opportunity stuff. So it's happening right now, but we got to stay focused. And and we talked about previously, with the statues and name changing and all these other things, which
The national
I guess
black
in
national
themselves,
anthem before an
yeah,
NFL
before the
game.
NFL. I mean, like all this stuff that's like, okay, yeah, but we got to stay focused on what we're talking about. We're talking about police brutality. That's what we're
Police
talking.
reform.
Police
I
reform.
know a
That's-
lot of people are saying defund the police and things
Well,
like
that's
that.
retarded, but that's dumb as hell. So, but when it says defund the police, and this is another thing, it's easy to say defund the police, or are you really saying maybe some of the dollars that are being spent on some police dollars need to go to some other things? Whatever. Okay, I can understand some of that, but to say that all right, just pull the cops off the street and just we done.
And that brings a funny thought to my. Excuse my humor, but a funny thought to mind when I hear as being law enforcement, defund the police. There's a lot of things that could happen with that. So, okay, you hire more social workers. So, are you going to send a social worker to this naked mental with his dick out,
Hell no.
running up and down
Hell
the
no,
streets?
hell no.
Is
hell
that
no.
who you really want to respond
That's what I'm
to
saying.
that?
I think
Good
when you
point,
talk
man.
about police
Good
reform,
point.
leave it at police reform. Don't say defund the police. Say when police reform, yeah, maybe some dollars need to be portioned off to take care of some other things that the community is spending on policing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I understand that, but to say that you just totally just eradicate it and get rid of it, that's fucking retarded.
So let's talk past and present.
Here we go.
In the past, we had a clear-cut leader, whether it be Mandela, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, so on and so forth. In our current day society, we do not have a modern day leader for the African American community. We do not, right? The problem that we're having is we're not utilizing our social media to the best, to our best interests, right? If I was in charge and looking at the current situation, on social media, I would give you every fucking business that we were going to boycott and every business we were going to support. And I guarantee every constituent of the government that had some kind of ties to any business and saw the money and the revenue that they were losing and how much stronger that the African American community was becoming, those motherfuckers be ready to be barter. They would be ready to barter.
But like we were saying earlier, though, man,
Right.
It's not about having some singularity leader. It's about
Right.
having leaders
Right.
in these communities. I mean,
Right.
you could do that in your community. Somebody else could
Right.
do it in another community. But as long as they're still
aligned.
aligned and what needs to happen, it'll still be the same result.
But when Martin spoke and they said, hey, this is what we're going to do, the entire country did that, right? We don't have that same thing anymore. Who do we have? I ain't heard nothing from Messy Jesse. I ain't heard nothing from Messy Jesse.
You know what? You're right, man. We heard shit from
Or
that.
brother Al Sharpton.
Now, I did listen to Farrakhan's speech in the garden, right? Farrakhan has always, and I mean always, gave his intentions and what he believed to be true as far as the direction we should go in, right? But you haven't heard anything from our other leaders saying, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do and this is what we need to do.
Yeah, but
Change Black
I'm
Lives
just
Matter.
being honest with you. I don't.
They've been hands
I don't.
off.
I don't.
They've been
I don't
hands
need
off,
to-
JB.
I don't need to listen to Jesse or Al and tell me, how, you know what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just being real, bro.
I agree. But who do we have to say, hey, this is direction that we need to
Because
go
I mean, there
in?
was a point in time that those two were very influential.
But you know why?
When it came
You know
forward.
why? Because they were, again, the age of information. When you had less information, less coverage, less TV, less everything, those were the voices that were allowed to be there and push their way through there. Now everybody can get on fucking the
Yeah.
internet, do anything. Shit, we got a fucking podcast. So I mean, it's like.
Please listen and subscribe.
But the point is that everybody has access to share information at this point and affect change. Yes, it needs to be aligned. I agree with you what you're saying. There need to be more leaders, but at the local level, yes.
But I mean, with that, local leaders that don't need acknowledgement from social media, don't need acknowledgement from mainstream media, who's actually truly working for the communities that they want to be a leader of. They don't need the sunshine. They don't need all the press and things like that to be able to move forward and, you know, lead their community in the direction that they need to go. They're working an actual agent of the community.
Yeah, I bet you people that really know where they, you know, have a finger on the pulse of their community. They know who the leaders are.
Yeah,
they know who the people who are moving. They know the people who are shaking. And those are the people that they respond to. Okay, you know, locally. So getting more involved locally, you'll see more local change.
Although, you know, I'll put it like this: I did not support the chop zone out in Seattle.
What the hell is that?
That was so stupid.
The chop
man.
zone was they had 6 blocks where they took over in Seattle to where it was basically lawless. It was like a group of individuals who basically ran these 6 blocks. They took over the police precinct there.
Oh,
kicked
so this
all the
was
police out
what
there.
was that movie called? When they had like one night they could just do whatever they wanted to.
It was something like the Purge.
Yeah, the Purge. Yeah, that sounds like that's it.
They're like what, like a month?
And so they had this area for like a whole month where they took over these 6 blocks of Seattle. I mean, it was all kind of stuff like that happened there. There
What
was
the
a
hell
couple
does chop
murders,
mean?
Rapes.
It was like a police-free zone, basically. That's what it meant. I mean, and the police actually did not go in there under the mayor's orders and things like that unless a actual
Who the fuck was in there?
Dude, I'm telling you, it was one person that took over. He was he was a rapper.
Okay.
That took over he took over the chop zone. He ran the chop zone.
He ran the trap.
He ran the chop zone, all that shit. But I mean, it just became a point to where there was shootings happening in there. It was murders that happened in there.
Did y'all ever see? I don't know if y'all ever watched The Wire.
Yeah,
But you remember, was it Amsterdam? What was it called when they just the cops wouldn't go to a certain area? They wanted all the fiends and everybody to go to a certain spot.
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
It was just they just let everything happen.
And that's basically what the
because they
chop
wanted to
zone
keep
was.
everybody away in other areas in Baltimore.
That's basically what the chop zone was, kind of to a degree. I mean, it took finally the mayor getting her head out her ass to let that police actually go in there to break it up. Because I mean, there was murders that happened in there. There was all kind of crazy stuff. I mean, the people who took it over would not allow you to go in there unless you showed them your driver's license that showed you had an address in the chop zone. I mean, dude, it was fucking ridiculous. I mean, that's why I say local leaders have to be responsible.
Yeah, absolutely.
In these areas, and you know, because that was just totally fucked up.
Wasn't it a police precinct there?
It was a police precinct that got
so.
took. Yeah, they took it over, kicked the police out.
How the fuck you get the police out, man?
I mean, dude, I don't
say
know.
up in Minneapolis when they burn
that precinct down. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, crazy. I mean, it just you have to have. I mean, in the leaders that you pick to do these, they have to be responsible in their ways, and they have to have good leadership to be able to be able to lead their communities into a better place, to where they're not so hyped up by social media, so hyped up by trying to get mainstream media and things like that. Because I mean, in my opinion, in being off work being a citizen and on duty being a law enforcement officer, the media is so fucked up. Their only perspective is to get whatever is going to get them ratings. So if that shows black people being at their worst and being at their stupidest, they're going to show that, because it never fails. They'll go pick the stupidest person to be like no teeth.
Yeah, you're right, man.
Homeless. Be talking about, hey, did you see what happened out here?
No,
these motherfuckers, they're doing there.
Right. Yeah. They'll interview everybody there, but they'll be like,
only show.
We gonna show him.
That's fucked up, man.
Exactly.
That's fucked
up. And so, I mean, the media is so irresponsible.
They know what they're doing, man.
No, they know what they're doing, but they're irresponsible with it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's irresponsible because they put out an agenda that does not speak to what's actually happening.
That's why, like, you know, where we started with the movement and organization, like this global network organization.
Yeah.
I can't get down with a lot of things that they say, and I think that most black people in America aren't with everything that's on their mission statement. However, there's going to have to be, Professor. Yes. So,
What's your thoughts, man?
My thoughts? Again, I tell you.
I know you will.
Exchanging the monetary value for the transformation value. Again, Black Lives Matter should be about the value that we add to our American economy and our American way of life. When you take that back and you keep that for yourself, then you begin to see the impact. That's what Black Lives Matter means. That's exactly what it means.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's a lot more. I really do think there's an opportunity for us to really get a handle and control of the movement and make it about us and not let other entities co-opt what we need to be doing and what we need to be about.
Now, one thing I'm going to say, and this is what I do agree with. When we talk about Black Lives Matter, the rioting is irrelevant when it comes to the value that we add to our system and our government. The rioting is irrelevant. I agree with that. Although it is effective, it is irrelevant, right? But again, because we have no apparent leader like we had back in 1960 or 1950, we're just doing what we think creates change the fastest.
That's a great way to put it.
That's a good way to put it.
I know, niggas. I'm the professor. What the fuck you talking about? Don't do it. I'm on. It's on the tip of my motherfucking tongue.
Go ahead.
It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm being nice today.
I know we're not slaves today.
You're not. You're not. You're not.
And we not sleep.
Yeah,
you're not asleep.
We woke and we ain't slaves.
But I just gave.
That's a good day.
But
That's a good day.
But I just gave each of you
Get your
niggas.
blanket.
I just gave each of you niggas Care Bear book bags.
As long as they ain't sunshine Care Bear, I'm good.
I ever talk to y'all about displacement in the beams?
Oh my God!
We ain't talking about no more babies.
And on that note,
see where we going.
We're going to leave you black in thought with this thought. The movement versus the organization are two different things. And when you look at the two as a people, you know, we ask you to understand that the media doesn't portray us in a good light when it becomes a position of the movement versus the organization. As JB talked about, there are a lot of things that, you know, we as a people may not agree with the organization, but we still stand solid with equality and justice reforms when it comes to black people. Because without those things, we're still in the 60s and everything else when it comes to that. Thank you for listening to this episode, and we want you to come back for more. If you like what you heard, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. We're on all the major networks: Apple, Google, TuneIn, Spotify, and many more. Check out our social media, and please like, follow, and comment on Facebook, Black in Thought, Instagram, Black in Thought Podcast, and Twitter, Black in Thought Podcast. Please subscribe, share, and once again, thank you for listening.